If you are thinking about becoming a DJ or a producer, let me give you some advice. Don't. No, I'm kidding. I really do like not letting people know who I am. Just letting them figure it out.
Real anonymous.
Yeah, just keep it anonymous. I mean, for the longest time, it was like if I didn't have my tiny sunglasses on, people didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
You know, and then I stopped wearing them, and people were like, "Who the fuck are you?" You know, I'd be like, "Yo, I'm the next DJ." Like, "Yo, this is Lubelski's set."
Yeah. So the sunglasses were kind of a like identifier kind of item. Makes it. Well, we got you a nice pair out here. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
We'll see
Oh
them
yeah. Bring
tonight.
those over here. Can you feel those?
Let's see. Yeah.
Yo, I love putting these on the rider because I love seeing what every promoter's idea of what gas station speed dealers are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, those are kind of metal, actually.
Punk rock, dog.
I love it. So jumping into it, tell us a little bit about what is a happy accident.
Are you a fan of Bob Ross?
Of course. Everything's.
You're just going with the.
You're just going with
the flow. You know,
Yeah.
it's. You know, my approach to music is, for the longest time, was like, oh, I really want to get what's in my head down, but then I realized it's more about like sculpting it out of the air as opposed to like, I don't even know how to describe it, man. It's like if I'm feeling it in the moment, right? Like I find something as opposed to like really just trying to get down what's in my head. I'm just messing around until I find it, and then I run with it.
So what's that process of like initially getting the sculpture going? Like what's sort of your balance when it comes to like just ripping, like really fucking around versus like, do you ever go in with ideas in your mind?
I mean, yeah, I definitely go in with ideas, but like it never really works out that way. Like if you produce music, you know, it's just like you start with something and it becomes something totally different. So I just decided to skip the middleman per se and just let the music be what it is. Because a lot of the times, especially with my album Happy Accidents, it was a lot of explorative jams, stuff like that, and just trying to find the little pieces that I liked within those jams, as opposed to like really trying to make something that I had in mind or preconceived. You know, so the whole Happy Accidents ethos is to just let it be and try to make it work. And I think Asylum is probably like the best example of that off the album. I'm gonna take these off.
Yeah.
Asylum is like the best example of that off the album because it was honestly one of the last tracks to get finished, and it just kind of happened. You know, I was like, oh, I need something crazy. And I found this little part of the jam that I did that was like really nutty, and I just tried to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, that track is definitely nutty. Definitely nutty. Can't remember the first time I remember hearing it out, and I was like, what the fuck even is this? This is crazy. Because it has like it's like a journey. Like it goes through so many different parts, and they're like
Yeah.
So that was, you're saying like that was one of those moments where it's like just futzing around and then
it's
kind
like
of capitalizing on one of those moments.
It's
that
like
you
being
found.
present with it, you know, which is like something I struggle with a lot of the time. Like I'm a very aloof person, so it helps me come into the moment, you know, and just like be with the music and just messing around, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of approach really works well for me, you know, because I've done a lot of psychedelics. So like the psychedelic aspect of it is really what intrigues me.
So how has that developed over time in your career? Because already listening to some of your earlier stuff in researching for this interview, I definitely did hear some of that like psychedelic kind of like, what's the right word? Like almost like moist, like kind of like samples.
Moist,
you know what I mean?
First.
But it still had a lot more like form and structure, and it sounds like it's gotten a little bit more maybe playful, a little bit more abstract over time. But I mean, how would you phrase it in terms of your sound evolving over time?
Well, I've always been very eclectic. I grew up with like a very eclectic household. You know, with classic rock and R&B and hip hop, and like what my parents listened to was just like they loved music. So I don't know, the underlying thread for me was always like kind of textural, you know, like things that kind of made my ears perk up a little bit.
Yes.
And I always remember that feeling of being on a dance floor, being like, how is this sound made? How is this arranged? And like, I wanted to provide that sort of inspiration for other people as well. So I always try to find something that isn't like the easiest way to make a sound or the most obvious, and just try to just find new sounds. You know, I think that's like really important, pushing things forward.
Definitely.
Textures.
Yeah, I definitely hear it. Like as you're describing it, I'm thinking through a lot of like listening to those sounds. Like there's a lot of textures and all those like little sort of like ear candies that really shine through.
Exactly.
Especially when you're listening in the club on a proper sound system.
Things that sweep the spectrum, resonances, modulation.
Yeah.
Things that just like keep it moving dynamically.
Exactly.
It's all very important.
So how is that also changing as you've gotten more into hardware over software in your production?
Well, I've always been like a hardware guy. Like most of my life, I grew up playing instruments, and I bought a synthesizer when I got to college, and then I discovered modular like in a class, and then from there took electrical engineering. Right. And so like hardware has always been the thing. It's just like so much more fun to have something like physical in front of you, you know, like even with vinyl, it just makes it more fun because it feels real, you know. And sometimes software is a little too perfect, but there's a lot of capability with the digital stuff that you can't get with hardware, which is like, you know, control. So it's like control versus the like happy accidents of it, you know. And when you're using hardware, it's kind of like a conversation. I feel like I've used this analogy 1,000 times, but yeah, it's like a conversation with the synthesizer. You're telling it to do something and it's telling you something back, as opposed to do this and then it does it perfectly. You know what I mean?
That's a nice way to phrase it. So what was that overlap like as studying electrical engineering and as you're diving deeper into music? So you said you grew up as a musician.
Yeah.
Grew up playing piano. Clearly.
Well, guitar actually.
Guitar, because you played a little Journey earlier.
Yeah.
Right. So were you already in college? Did you believe that you were going to be an artist? Were you committed to it? Did you think maybe you would be an electrical engineer? Like, as you're doing both of these things, how was that evolving? How you thought about your career and trajectory?
You know, I never really thought I would be a DJ. I always thought I would end up in like a band or something, but I can't sing and I don't really have great rhythm. I know when it sounds on time though.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was just kind of natural. It kind of fell into it. When I got to college, I started throwing my own parties. There was no one throwing house music shows where I went to school, and we would throw like forest parties and stuff like that, and you know, take over local clubs. Yeah, just never really decided to do anything else. It's kind of the only thing I've done, really.
Yeah, very natural. Kind of progression.
Yeah, I don't remember when I like made the switch where I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Professionally. Yeah, because it was always on the back burner. It was always something I did. I mean, like I've had 2 jobs in my life. I was a publicist after college, and I worked in a surf shop in high school. And I think those are the only like 2 real jobs I ever held. Yeah. So it was like kind of just never really thought about doing anything else. Yeah. But I guess my evolution, coming back to your question as well, you know, the hardware stuff, I think I'm trying to find a way to make all these complex ideas also remain simple. You know, with the sound design stuff, I guess. Give me funk or give me death. Yeah. No matter what. If you can't dance to it, then what's the point? It's dance music.
That is definitely a theme that has come out in a lot of these conversations, is like just a lot of people we find are missing like that exact mentality of like, it's dance first. Yeah. Right. And no matter what you're making, whether it's drum and bass, techno, house, like you're getting people grooving. That's your job as the DJ. Right. Yeah.
I mean, I also tell people that my job as a DJ is like to give people a good time. Like that's my first goal. Yeah. And then the second goal is like the music. But I mean, they go hand in hand, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, if it's not fun, then why are you playing it?
100%.
I mean, unless you're like, you know, doing an ambient set or something and like you're in a space for that kind of thing.
Right.
I love ambient, but like if you're in a club and you're on a dance floor, like people come to have a good time. So like why play music that's like gonna put them in a bad headspace or something?
Totally. So I want to also just linger for a moment. You mentioned just sort of the like forest rave party stuff at UCSC. That's
UC
correct,
Santa Cruz,
right?
yeah, that's right.
So actually, that's where my parents went to school.
No way,
And-
your parents
and
were banana slugs?
Oh yeah,
Represent,
that's where they
dude.
met.
Represent.
Yeah, shouts to the West Coast. Shouts to Mom and Abba. And so I'm curious also, like, because I'm imagining forest parties, forest raves, like, what was the link then with like the Desert Heart crew and like I feel like it's a similar vibe with like pulling up, doing kind of like eclectic parties.
You know, I've never made that connection, actually.
Interesting.
Never made that connection. I kind of fell into Desert Hearts I had like a collab with a friend at the time, and he released it on Desert Hearts.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of my segue into the community. I met Mikey and I started giving him music. So I came to the party and I was like, I need to play this one day.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
totally.
That was like one of the first places where I was like, how was this music made? Like they were all playing just like crazy stuff that I'd never heard. I didn't know that house music could go that direction. And I'm like, you know, I'm pretty explorative with my taste in music, but they were definitely showing me some stuff I had never heard.
Yeah.
But as far as like doing the renegades and going to desert, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, right, because probably those were several years apart, but in my mind, just the energy felt like similar as you were just mentioning it. Because I feel like they sort of have an ethos that's like, even though it's legit festivals, it has that kind of.
It's
like,
nice to go
vibe.
and play those parties without having to do any of the setup myself.
Yeah.
I nearly like punctured or like broke a rib on a wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow? Am I saying that word right?
Wheelbarrow?
Wheelbarrow or barrel?
Burrow.
You know what I'm talking about.
We'll fix it in post.
It's one of these things.
Yeah.
And I go into a ditch and I have a speaker or generator on it, and the wheel went flat and it hit a root coming out of the ground, and I lost control of it and it nearly like broke my ribs, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore, because it was like 2.5 miles, 3 miles into the Pogonip forest.
Whoa.
Like above campus.
You pushed a wheelbarrow 3 miles with equipment and shit in it?
Oh yeah.
Damn,
we got after it, dude.
That's dedication to the rave.
We got after it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny about those renegade vibes is like it's such a hassle, and like it can be dangerous to set it up.
Do it for the culture,
but
right?
It's so fun.
You do it for the culture.
It's so fun. We were doing a lot of that like during COVID. We would set up on people's roofs in like parking lots. We didn't break into any place. Like it wasn't like too hard renegade.
We weren't plague raving.
What was plague raving?
Plague raving?
Yeah, what is that?
Raving during the plague?
Oh, of course not. Plague raving? No, we did everything by the book, but
did it all ethically.
Yeah, but that energy of really DIY kind of stuff is always fun.
Yeah, I love it. You know, I've been thinking a lot about doing that in LA.
Yeah.
Maybe getting some speakers, going out on the beach, or finding some park to just have the cops roll up on us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
Get in trouble.
So I want to shift just to your label.
Okay.
So when did you, or why did you want to start a label? And how's that been? It's a lot of work to run a label.
It is.
But it can also present a ton of opportunity for freedom, for creative opportunity, for self-releasing, putting on up and coming music, your homies. What's that been like? Why did you want to get it started?
Well, Rybo and I started together, and Rybo at the time was doing some studio work for Jamie Jones. And he would also like tour manage him occasionally. And Jamie played Coachella, played the Yuma tent. And so I was there with them, and we're just like hanging with Jamie. And I think we were watching like Kamasi Washington, like big jazz act.
Yeah.
And I just remember like looking at Rybo, and we were both just like, we gotta start our own thing.
Wow.
Like this guy like did it on his own, like tired of like trying to validate like our music through other people. Like, let's just put it out ourselves, you know? And like that's how Jamie kind of did it. And it was just that like one special moment, you know, like seeing him and like seeing it all connect. And literally on the drive home, we're like, pick the name and decided we were gonna do it. Trials and tribulations for sure. We brought Wyatt Marshall into the crew, and it's since the pandemic, it's been a little difficult to like really get it going again. But we're releasing music here and there. It's whenever it feels right, and if we have the music for it. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun when you're doing it with your friends as well. And I love art, and I love A&Ring, and the label management and business side of it's a little daunting and tedious sometimes, but it's still good. It keeps me on my toes, and it's nice to see like its reach when I go places, when people are like rocking the merch or whatever. It's definitely a good feeling.
Yeah. So creatively also, when you're working on music, do you ever make music with labels directly in mind? Or now that you have a label, has that impacted how you think about your own creation?
It's such a difficult question, because sometimes I definitely do that. I'm like, oh, I want to get something on that label.
Yeah.
Because like I love what they're putting out, and I try to do that, and then the music falls flat sometimes. As soon as I do something for somebody else, like with the intention of having somebody else think it's going to be good, it gets lost. As soon as I stop doing something for me, right? Because like if I try to impress myself, because like I don't know what other people's tastes are, right? People are just like, oh, tell me what you got, like we'll see. And like it becomes this like kind of circle of like doubt. And so yeah, I try not to do that anymore. I just try to make the music, and then if it happens to be a fit for a label I like, then we'll send it to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult to do that for me.
It makes a lot of sense.
And it goes back to my workflow as well, like how I work. I'm not trying to preconceive it. So preconceiving it and like doing it for somebody else, because like if I'm impressing myself, or if I'm like if I think my music is good, then that is the only marker that I have for if other people are going to like it. Because I don't know if other people are going to like it either way. But if I like it, maybe they will,
That makes a lot of sense. And I think it's also like you can extrapolate it larger of like, you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy the process, because it's a long road, and there is a lot of uphill battles in this industry. And if you're not rooting for yourself and also enjoying, like I said, enjoying the process, enjoying the music that you're making, then it can feel tedious.
Yeah. I feel like if you're doing it for other people,
yes,
it also becomes a job of commerce.
Right.
Because you're now taking other people into consideration. But if you're doing it yourself for you, I feel like when I do that, I'm more of an artist, and even just that mentality is helpful for the art. But I enjoy making music, and I just want to keep making music. And like, I have so much stuff that'll probably never get released, but like, I just like making it. So
yeah,
who knows?
Who knows, man? Well, what kind of exciting things can we expect, or anything that you want to plug or mention that's going on either now or in the near future? Any Raw Cuts exclusives?
I do have an EP coming out on Shall Not Fade.
Nice. Oh, what a good label.
Yeah, I think the fall or summer or something. They're so backed up with releases, so we're just kind of waiting for the release date. But
yeah, Have you released with them before?
No, it's first EP with them.
They're sick.
Yeah, they're really dope.
Cool.
They're really dope. I really like that label. I've got some other things in the works. Nothing signed, but music sitting with a few different labels.
Great.
And I'm gonna try and just release a bunch on Percomaniacs, my label. Yeah, I think that's all I got to plug right now.
That's a very exciting plug, though, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Sick. And so we normally end just with artists shedding a little bit of advice, something that you'd like to say to someone in the audience who might be getting into this industry, this career as a DJ, producer, just creative in general.
Should I look in the camera and do this?
Yeah, if you want to. Be hardcore. Let them know.
If you are thinking about becoming a DJ or a producer, let me give you some advice. Don't. No, I'm kidding. Nothing is cool. Everything's unhinged. Do what you want. I believe that people will resonate with your ethos. You know, it's about a vibe. Don't just bank on one track. If you're an artist, you're doing it because you love to do the art, and make sure that that is your focus. And be you. I know that's easier said than done, but authenticity is a big thing.
100%. You heard it here first, folks. We're excited for tonight, man. We're fucking psyched. Thank you so much for sitting down and shedding some wisdom. Hopefully we'll see you back soon.
Yeah, I would love to be back. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And that's a wrap.